Now, welcome to another Canon Fodder review cap, where this time it is Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars, written by Sam Meggs, the prelude to Jedi Survivor, and the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, you could say. Okay, so this is going to be either for those who have read the book and want a sort of review, or for those who haven't read the book and want a recap of what happened. But if you're planning on reading this, you might want to skip this video or don't want anything spoiled in general. Not that I would say there's a ton to spoil. I wouldn't call this a must-read before Survivor.
It's a must-watch this video before Survivor.
I mean, you absolutely must watch this video to enjoy the next game, right?
It's important.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start this out kind of with a recap for those of you who maybe didn't read the book. And if you did read it, and you can probably just skip to the review section. I don't think we'll be talking too much about how we felt or what we think. I mean, I might interject here and there because I can't help myself. But Naboo will probably silence me and keep to the recap. So again, go down to the chapter sections, move on to the review part. If you've read the book, you probably don't need to hear this. But seriously, let's kick this off, huh?
Cal is infiltrating a Hexon brood base. As you remember from the game, they kidnapped him for a short while. They had some really good music.
Yeah.
Destroying the base is supposedly going to stop the brood from being able to track the Mantis, as well as protect local systems. Cal has a bounty on his head, so they want him.
Yeah, the book jumps right into this kind of mission, and it runs with it for quite a while.
Yes.
Maybe a little too long.
We do learn that Merrin is struggling with her powers. Her inner flame has been inconsistent. We learn stormtroopers are also at the base for currently unknown reasons.
Dun dun dun.
During the ensuing battle, of course, one thing that's interesting to note is that BD-1 gives Cal a stim, just like in the game.
There are a lot of game references in
really
this.
are.
A lot
Double
of
jump a little bit.
It kind of explains how double jumping works too. How you jump and then you push off with the Force again.
Yeah, stims, awesome. They're a combination of stimulants and healing fluids, all in one. I need one. I'll take a couple. Sounds great.
You're fine.
Instead of a coffee in the morning and just like stim.
BD-1, I need a stim.
Cal worries about Merrin using the dark side because he was hoping with time her vengeance would just heal. But we also have found out that Merrin was there when her people were killed. She remembers General Grievous. That was an interesting fact.
Well, she should.
She should, but we didn't know how involved she would,
She'd be,
Is she just cloistered away somewhere? Why is she the only survivor? Well, especially now that we know she was there at the battle.
Yeah, we don't get any answers for any of that, but...
While leaving the base and heading back for the Mantis, because the whole place is going to explode, Merrin is stopped by a stormtrooper who says they want out, but then Merrin kind of loses her in the hustle and bustle of escaping. I do love that we get a lot of inner dialogue from Merrin.
This is a Merrin story.
This is
primarily
a lot of Merrin story, mostly Merrin.
For better or worse, yes.
I do like hearing her talk about her powers. She describes it as like she connects to the fire that lives deep within each Night Sister. When she reaches for it, it's always right there, waiting and eager, licking at the inside of her soul, desperate to be freed, to consume, and her having such a hard time using it feels like losing a part of who she is.
Sure.
Which is cool because in the trailer, she talks about the flame and be careful, it'll consume you.
Yeah.
She's talking from experience.
Yeah.
As we'll find out in this book, which makes it super important.
She got a lot of a flame in this book.
A lot of flame. Fire and flame.
She gets very fiery in this book.
Mm-hmm.
In more ways than one.
Well, they do end up leaving with the rogue trooper, who, as it turns out, isn't a stormtrooper, but an Imperial analyst named Fret, who stole the armor to disguise her escape.
Well, her name isn't Fret. She has a longer name.
She has a long name, but I'm just calling her Fret because...
That's what they call her in the book.
Yeah, they call her Fret.
Yeah.
Also, Merrin is instantly attracted to her.
Mm-hmm.
That was, for some reason, really important to know.
That was a huge part of the book.
Yeah.
A lot
of the part of the book was about Merrin having a
lot of descriptions of
Merrin and
what they're doing.
How much she loves Fret.
Yep.
Fret is from wild space and didn't know the Empire was bad when they recruited her.
That's what they all say.
Fret knows of a job that the Mantis could take on to hurt the Empire and change the galaxy for the better. It's why she sought them out. So they go to Hosnian Prime, because that we have to connect to the sequels, right?
Yep.
Where they meet her contact, Curis Lar, a super rich bird-type alien who
Bird guy, yep.
says he hates the Empire. He's the one who told Fret where to find the Mantis so she could present the job offer. So that's most likely why the stormtroopers were there, is because
Yes.
Fret had info that led them there so that she could go with the Mantis. The basis of this job is to find the Shroud, a personal shield that makes the user invisible to most tech and sensors, even cameras. The inventor was killed by the Empire, and the only schematics are on a hidden data card the Empire has at a garrison awaiting shipment to Edu for decryption and fabrication. Oh, and the Inquisitors are the ones coming to transport the chip. The plans are on Mercana, which also happens to be where a Jedi artifact called the Circlet of Saresh was taken after the fall of the Order, as Sierra remembers. She, in her inner monologue, wants to recover this and start creating an archive of her own. Something that she can leave behind for future generations. I mean, she hasn't told the crew that she wants to do this at all, but her inner monologue says that this is really what she wants. She wants to rebuild an archive so that they leave something of the Jedi for the future.
Almost like we'll see her with an archive in the new game.
What? Wow. And then we get some sort of interlude now with the fifth brother.
Yeah, he was in this a little bit.
Yep. Here he had an interlude. We find out he was once a Padawan taken at a young age, which most of them are. He believes over time the Jedi had made him a servant to politicians, ignoring the fallibility of people easily corrupted by power and prestige.
I mean, he's not entirely wrong.
His home world was stripped for its resources, destroying the lives of all who lived there due to fascism or something.
Yeah, fascism bad.
Yeah. Back to the crew. Cal touched a piece of Fret's armor, kind of sneaky-like, because he's got that psychometry. So he can see past events by touching them, feel the emotions and stuff of things that they belonged to.
Yep.
It's cool. And he saw that at one time Fret was deeply in love with a Nikto woman who wanted to run from the Empire, but Fret wouldn't go with her. Cal asks Sierra about attachments, as he knows he has strong attachments to the whole crew, and yes, while not romantic, wink wink, because he doesn't think that way, they can be a danger for falling to the dark side, he thinks. Sierra says she doesn't actually know what the answer to that is, because, she did use the dark side to save Cal from Vader, and has since had to, stop herself from doing whatever it takes to get through these missions and stuff.
Attachments lead to the dark side.
Next, we have Merrin and Fret doing it in Cal's room. Yep.
Yeah,
On his cot.
Yep.
The cot of the Jedi with psychometry.
Yep.
Not cool. Just saying. She does let, Merrin use the room now and again to practice connecting to her fire. But he didn't mean that kind of fire in his bed.
Yep. Like I said, there's a lot of
really
heat in this book. A lot of fire.
Yeah.
A lot of fire.
Yeah. I just think that's really tacky doing it in the room with the person who's like, I can never sleep on the cot again. Come on. That's cruel, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's cruel. Whether you know that Cal kind of thinks he might like you or not, he doesn't know.
Come on, she knows Cal kind of thinks he might like her.
Yeah. I mean, he sees them both walk out of his room, and he describes kind of feeling jealousy in his head, but he doesn't acknowledge it because he doesn't acknowledge that he likes her. It's weird.
It's like some junior high stuff.
Yep. While on Mercana, in scouting, Sierra finds the lost Jedi artifact and trades for it. The circlet is said to be able to boost the wearer's connection to and abilities in the Force, but we never come back to that, so who
I was
cares?
just gonna say, yeah, don't expect that to go anywhere.
No,
it's
they
so
gave
strange.
us this little story. There was a good amount of little lore on the item-ish and how she knew about it, but they don't actually use it or anything.
No,
so
I thought it might come into play, but no, it's just there to set
it'll
up.
be an Easter egg in the new game. You'll see it on a pedestal.
Probably,
You'll be like,
yeah.
It's the circlet of
thing in the book.
Saresh.
That's the thing.
It's the thing that nobody's going to use to boost their power.
Yep.
Alrighty, back to the mission. They're infiltrating the Imperial base, and we learn that Fret never left the Empire. The Empire thinks she's on a data collecting mission, but she still wants to leave the Empire, but she needed to stay in so that she could get codes so that they could go and steal the Shroud. Which, of course, causes conflict, but nobody really cares. Turns out the plans, when they go to find them, they open the door and it's actually Fret's ex-girlfriend!
Oh my god.
Oh, and the Inquisitors also arrived on the scene. Fret has no idea that her girlfriend was alive. Eerie said she'll escape with them to protect the Shroud from being made and used by the Empire. Turns out, Eerie was born Force-sensitive, and she knew she'd be on the run for her entire life, so she invented the Shroud to hide herself and Fret. Though, as we know, Fret turned her down on the hiding thing. During the, prison riot escape thing that's going on here, Eerie and Fret ran off together, and Merrin is like, losing it. Like, Marin thought that they had a thing, and then she's like, oh my goodness, now they have a thing. And so she's kind of losing control of her flame with, like, jealous lover's rage. And she kind of was gaining control of it when she was with Fret, and now all hell breaks loose, and she almost seems like at times her flame might be devouring her.
Like she kind of warns in the trailer.
Oh my goodness.
Dun dun dun.
Well, during the fight, Fifth Brother shows up. Cal sends Marin away to escape, and he's going to face Fifth Brother alone. He doesn't want to risk leading Fifth Brother back to the ship. He is getting his butt kicked, and he's about to die, and Seer shows up. Cal gets knocked unconscious. Seer shatters the Fifth Brother's lightsaber, which is great news, right? And then we know that Fret and Irie show up at the Mantis. Marin's at the Mantis. Irie is really injured. Marin uses her Night Sister magic to save her, which she wasn't sure she could do. And Grease is all like, hey, we're missing the 2 Jedi.
Yeah. So
he goes to go find them so that they can leave. Well, he does find them, of course. It's apparently really easy to do. He finds them with Sierra having Fifth Brother at Saber Point, desperately trying to return him to the light while Cal is unconscious on the ground.
Yeah, she feels guilt for Trilla, so she's going to try to save this Inquisitor.
Grease struggles kind of, though, to remind her that Cal and Marin need her too, and so they need to get Cal and leave. Well, that distraction from Grease allows Fifth Brother to free himself, force push Sierra away, steal her saber, and he prepares to strike down Cal, who's still unconscious.
He's going to get him, too.
But
totally think so.
Grease steps in the way, and that's where he loses his arm.
Yep. In the trailer we see.
In the trailer we see he has a robot arm.
Yep. He doesn't get that robot arm in the book, though.
We don't know how the fight finishes up, but they escape. They gloss over that. Seer notes that she can feel the darkness in herself and in Cal too. His hate towards the Empire is kind of bringing the darkness out. She's worried that Cal will turn out like Trilla, and he knows that she worries about that, and he thinks about it a little bit too.
Sure.
Yeah, the Mantis crew at this point is all arguing and kind of fracturing, so they go to like another planet, and they're like, hey, come back at this time if you come back. If not, we're leaving without you.
48 hours.
Yeah. Everyone does end up coming back after they have their little time. I mean, Marin and Fret take a bath together.
Yeah.
So they can talk about things.
Gets described in detail.
Yeah.
A lot of things get described in detail.
Yeah, they take a bath together where they decide that Marin's going to continue on with the Mantis crew, and Erie and Fred are going to go off and be a little twosome, though they invited Marin to come with and be like
that
a
was
threesome
weird.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They said they didn't love each other anymore, but they were going to stick together, and they wanted Marin to come and, I guess, spice things up.
I don't know.
I have no idea. It was so strange.
It was very, yeah. But everyone came back to the ship. They all decide that Curious Birdman can't be trusted with the shroud, so they go back to his place with a plan on tricking him to thinking he gets the shroud, so he won't hunt down Erie and Fret or the Mantis crew. So they can just like look, you got it. We're all square
congrats.
now.
Yep, we're good.
We find out he's in league with the Haxon Brood, so it's battle time. We gotta fight a bunch of Haxon Brood. And then we find out he's also in league with the Empire, because he's greedy.
Yes. Yeah, the minerals that were going to be needed to make the shroud, he bought like all the mines for them. Like, brilliant. He's going to be like the richest man in the galaxy. Or something.
And then, of course, the Fifth Brother shows up too, because apparently there's a tracking device on Erie somewhere.
Yep. No one thought to check that.
So there's a lot of battling going on. Everyone's involved. It's a great time.
There are a lot of battles in the book. A lot of just killing. It does feel a lot like the game in some ways, where you're just constantly killing things. But when in the book, it kind of becomes like, why is everybody just like killing everybody?
Fifth Brother ends up killing the rich Birdman.
Yeah.
Marin and Cal battle the Fifth Brother together in perfect co-op style. She ends up saving Cal's life by using her flame to hold back the lightsaber that would have killed him, which burned her hands. They use a bomb, and
they turned the shroud.
Yeah, they made this fake
shroud,
prototype
fake
shroud. And they made a bomb fake prototype shroud, and they end up using that. But don't worry, all of our heroes survive. Fifth Brother is yeeted out a window so that he too can survive to go continue on in Rebels.
Die in Rebels someday, yeah.
Also, they've talked about it in building the shroud is actually impossible because the technology isn't there yet, so the whole thing was just pointless. The Mantis crew is still kind of fractured and not whole, but they're going to continue on together at the end.
Well, you kind of miss a little bit of Marin and Cal stuff at the end where there's some acknowledgement of feelings.
Yes, though neither one is really fully acknowledging feelings, but you can tell that there are feelings because they like to toy with us.
Yeah. So moving on more into the kind of review instead of the recap.
Good, because I'm tired of talking.
Yeah, well, you did a great job. Hopefully, people who didn't read the book got a lot out of that. Anyway, what did you actually think of this book?
I thought it could have been better.
That is an understatement.
I think I wanted the missions that they went on to feel more important. I understand this was a setup book and they weren't going to do anything too crazy, but I wanted more time maybe on the relationships because we see where they left off in Fallen Order when they were like, yeah, we destroyed the holocron, we're a great team, we're going to fight the Empire and make the galaxy a better place, to we're starting the next game where nobody hangs out anymore except Cal and Marin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what this book felt like is they wanted to make a book because why not? But they didn't want to address anything that you really cared about. I think a lot of us, when Fallen Order ends, we have this little, Marin gives Cal a hug and you're like, yeah, a little something there maybe. How does Cal feel? That's kind of one of the things you're most interested in. And this book circumvents that by having a whole big relationship with Marin and someone else.
It wasn't super... It was like the whole book was, in a sense, it was pointless because they're going to tell you anything you really need to know. They're going to tell you in the game. They're going to tell you... Maybe they aren't going to explain Grease's arm, but they're going to tell you why Grease left, that his dream was to someday settle down and have a little business of sorts. And
I think the problem with that is that's what they just tell you in the book, too. You get that through a lot of inner monologuing. So all these things you learn or that they tell you are probably things they're going to tell you in the game. And they don't really give it a story, per se. They give you this story that really doesn't mean anything. And it feels like it's dragged out.
Yeah.
This feels like the
book felt really long.
It feels really long, yes. Because it's one kind of simple mission and then a lot of characters inner monologuing and all of this stuff. And it's just... It feels like the first third of a normal book where you kind of set up your characters.
And it was so predictable.
Well, sure. I mean, we knew Fifth Brother isn't going to die. No one on the Mantis crew is going to die. We know all these things, but there is still an opportunity to tell an interesting story, I think, and it just failed to do that.
Yeah. It failed on a lot of levels. A book shouldn't feel hard to read because it should be engaging and exciting and you can't put it down. Instead, when I was reading it, I felt like I was slogging through it.
You forced yourself to read it in like a day, and it took me forever because I couldn't. It's one of those books
it
where...
couldn't hold you.
No, it didn't really hold me. It wasn't like, a good book is when the chapter ends and you're like, oh, it's late or whatever it is, but I gotta read one more. I never got that feeling.
No.
It was just, it felt like a filler book. It felt like something that was written just to take us from point A to point B because you could maybe make a little money off of it.
Yep. It was a cash grab.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't see how much of this is going to relate, other than, like I said, knowing why certain characters have gone and why Sierra started her little Jedi archive and why Grease is left and why maybe there's some tension between Cal and Marin. None of that gets set up extremely well in this book, but I mean, it does kind of explain their mindset.
But like I said, there's going to be Easter eggs in the game that if you read the book, you'll be mildly rewarded.
Yeah.
But still, it just didn't really hit the mark for me. Like I said, I want a book to be engaging and exciting. This one was a lot of everyone's inner monologue, how they think.
Yeah.
And a relationship that was kind of visceral. It was weird.
It was very... I don't have problems with a love story and some romance in a Star Wars book, but the whole focus was on the weird kind of love triangle, because when Eerie kind of comes into the picture, then you have it felt like I'm watching like Twilight, or reading Twilight, I should say. Not that I've watched Twilight.
Well, it's one of those crazy things. Like, I kept wondering if something was wrong in the relationship. I kept thinking, because Marin's like instantly attracted. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, what is this alien? Does she have a special scent, or is she doing some sort of special ability? What's going on? Because I kept thinking it was so awkward to me that Marin immediately like sees her and she's like blushing and she's head over heels. By the way, Marin blushes green.
Yeah, I didn't.
It must just be like her magic type thing. But
it's also implied that Marin has kind of had a lot of flings over the few years.
Yeah, Marin's had some flings.
Yeah, which I mean that's fine. I'm not going to judge fictional characters.
She can do what she wants.
Yeah, but it just felt really. I just like Marin is kind of a, get around kind of person?
Well, when you're sitting on your planet for who knows how long by yourself,
Yeah,
kinda.
but then you would think...
I don't know. It's just weird. The whole thing was weird.
Yeah.
Marin didn't ever seem like that kind of character.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't immediately get the impression, she probably falls in love quick
Marin,
and
she
has
gets
flings.
around.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I didn't
I
want to
wouldn't
say
have
it
thought
that way,
that
but
way of her ever.
yeah. And so it kind of tinted my my thoughts about her here a little. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also felt like she tried, in some respects, like all the action scenes, I felt like she really tried to make it feel like the game too much so. Again, there's a lot of killing, a lot of like, haha, Cal, like, well, I sliced down this stormtrooper, and, Marin's like, I burned this, and it's just like, this kind of this...
A lot of murder fest.
Yeah, a lot of murder fest, a lot of just kind of strange banter that didn't necessarily always resonate.
Some things work well in a game that don't work as well in a book.
Yeah, I mean, part of me does appreciate she does try to incorporate, the stim packs, the double jumping. There's other references that you're going to, other callbacks to Fallen Order, which, they're cool. The boggling on the ship, and there's a lot of nice little touches.
Pink poncho.
The pink poncho,
He does mention his pink poncho.
Ogdo Bogdo, a lot of references to the game, which, all right, that's cool, but just overall, you didn't really, I mean, I could be wrong. We don't know. We haven't played Survivor yet, but I don't feel like this was really the bridge a lot of people were probably hoping it was going to be, the at least somewhat relevant story people were hoping it was going to be.
I agree.
I mean, it's not the worst read. I've read worse Star Wars books. I mean, I've read a lot of Star Wars books, so that's not saying too much. But if you're someone on the fence, you can skip this one and probably be just fine.
Well, if you watched this, then you're just fine.
We
you don't need
really,
anything else.
I don't know how you talked like 10-15 minutes about the story, because there really isn't much of a story.
Because I was trying to give them a full picture of what
we
read.
And you did.
I gave you a 300-page book, and
barely. It didn't even hit 300 pages. It was really short.
So I gave you roughly 300-page book in like under 20 minutes. You're welcome.
And she hit all the important beats. She didn't miss anything.
I took all these notes while I was reading because you said I had to.
I didn't see. Always paint me out to be the bad guy. I said it might be helpful if you jotted. But you jotting down notes is like 8 pages of stuff. Me jotting down notes is like 4 things, and it's usually like a page number.
It wouldn't
I
have
found
been enough,
interesting.
would it?
I don't know. It probably would have been, actually, in this case.
No, you would have missed stuff.
But anyway, that's all we got for you for this review, Cap. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of either the review or the book itself, if you happen to read it. Do you think it is worthwhile? Do you think it is something you should check out before the game? Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.